I let my mom think I forgot her birthday on purpose. She called me at 7 inches the morning, expecting me to say it. Happy birthday. 2 words. I said good morning and asked if she needed anything from the store. The silence on the other end broke my heart. She said no and hung up. I knew she was crying. I knew she'd call my sister next and ask if I'd mentioned anything. I knew my sister would lie and say she hadn't heard from me in days. That was the plan. My mom raised me and my sister alone after Dad walked out when I was 6. She worked double shifts at the hospital, came home smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion, still made us dinner, still checked our homework, still pretended everything was fine when it wasn't. For 28 years he never asked for anything. Not a single thing. Last month, I overheard her talking to my aunt on the phone. She didn't know I was in the hallway. She said she wished just once someone would make a big deal about her birthday, that she'd spent her whole life making everyone else feel special, and wondered what that felt like. Then she laughed and said she was being silly, that it didn't matter. But it did matter. It mattered so much. I couldn't sleep that night. I called my sister the next morning, told her everything. She started crying before I finished. We made a plan. A real plan. The kind that required lying to our mother for 3 weeks straight. Wait. The morning of her birthday, I posted nothing on social media. Didn't send flowers, didn't send a card. My sister did the same. Our aunts and uncles were told to wait until evening. Everyone was in on it. By noon, my mom texted me just checking in. Hope you're having a good day. She was giving me an out, a chance to remember. I replied with a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. By 3 p.m., my sister said mom had called her twice, voice cracking both times, asking if something was wrong, if she'd done something to upset us. My sister stuck to the script, said she was busy with work, would call later. By 5 p.m., I was parked outside my mom's house with my sister. My aunts pulled up behind us. My uncles arrived from the other direction. 37 people total, all carrying flowers and food and decorations. The hardest part about lying isn't the lie itself, it's the silence you have to maintain afterwards. We sat in the car, the engine cut, the heat of the hood ticking in the cool evening air. My sister, Sarah, was gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles were white. In the rearview mirror, I saw the caravan of cars stretching down the block. It looked like a funeral procession, but it was carrying enough life to resurrect the dead. Do you think we pushed it too far? Sarah whispered. Her voice trembled. She sounded broken, Mike. When she called me at 3, she sounded small. Mom never sounds small. We had to, I said, though my stomach was twisting into a cold knot. To bring her back up, we had to let her fall. That was the deal. If she hates us for this, she won't. I unbuckled my seatbelt. But we can't wait any longer. Signal the others. Wait for my text before you open the front door. I stepped out of the car. The street was eerily quiet. 37 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, old friends from the hospital, neighbors she'd helped over the years, sat in their vehicles, silent as ghosts. They were the army we had amassed. The visual representation of the love she didn't believe she had. I walked up the driveway. The concrete was cracked in the shape of a lightning bolt near the porch, a crack that had been there since I was 10. I remembered her mixing cement by herself to fix the walkway because we couldn't afford a contractor. She did everything alone. Always alone. The house was dark. Not the cozy kind of dark where you're watching a movie, but the hollow, suffocating dark of a house that has been shut down. I used my key. The lock tumbled with a heavy thud that felt too loud. I stepped inside. The air smelled of lemon polish and stale coffee. Mom, I called out. Nothing. I walked into the living room. The curtains were drawn tight. The only light came from the small standby LED on the television. She was sitting in her old armchair, the one with the fraying fabric on the armrest. She wasn't watching TV. She wasn't reading. She was just staring at the blank wall. She was still wearing her nursing scrubs from the day before, as if she hadn't found the energy to change. She looked up when I entered. Her eyes were red, swollen, and glassy. Her face was stripped of its usual armor. There was no "I'm fine" smile. No straightening of her posture. Just raw, exposed hurt. Mike. Her voice was a cracked whisper. She wiped her eyes hurriedly, instinct taking over. I didn't think you were coming. I thought you were busy. I was, I said, keeping my voice steady. It took every ounce of willpower not to run to her right then. Sarah is here too. Oh, she sniffed, pulling her cardigan tighter around herself. That's nice. Did you need something? I haven't been to the grocery store, so I don't have much to offer you for dinner. That sentence. I don't have much to offer. It was the dagger in my chest. Even now, heartbroken and thinking she was forgotten, her first instinct was to apologize for not serving us. We don't need dinner, Mom, I said softly. Okay, well. She looked down at her hands. I'm a little tired, sweetie. I was just going to go to bed early. At 5 p.m.? It's been a long day, she said, her voice wavering. A really long day. I know, I said. I took a step closer. I'm sorry about today, Mom. About the morning call. About the text. She waved a hand dismissively, but fresh tears spilled over. It's fine. You have your own lives. I understand. Birthdays are for kids. I'm being silly. You aren't being silly. I am. It's just another day. She stood up, her knees popping. She looked so fragile. I'm going to go wash my face. Mom, wait. I pulled my phone out. I sent the text to Sarah. Go. What? She stopped, looking confused. I didn't forget, I said, my voice thickening. And neither did Sarah. Mike, please don't try to make up for it now, And neither did Aunt Lisa, I continued. Or Uncle Ben. Or Mrs. Higgins from down the street. Or Dr. Eris from the ER. What are you talking about? I walked over to the front door and threw it open. The silence of the street had vanished. Sarah was standing on the porch, holding a cake that looked heavy enough to sink a ship. But behind her was the flood. They didn't yell surprise. It wasn't that kind of party. It wasn't a jump scare. It was a procession. They walked in, a steady stream of humanity. Aunt Lisa was first, carrying a bouquet of lilies so massive she could barely see over it. Uncle Ben followed with trays of lasagna, Mom's favorite, the kind she only made for us but never got to eat herself. Mom stood frozen in the center of the living room. Her hands flew to her mouth. Lisa, she gasped. Lisa didn't say a word. She just walked up to Mom and shoved the flowers into her arms, then wrapped her in a hug that looked like it might crack ribs. Happy birthday, you stubborn woman, Lisa sobbed into Mom's neck. Then came the others. They poured into the small living room, filling the vacuum of sadness with instant warmth. The darkness was pushed back by the light from the open door, and the sheer volume of bodies. Mom looked panicked, her eyes darting from face to face. I don't understand. I look a mess. The house. I didn't clean. Sit down, Mom, Sarah said, placing the cake on the coffee table. She gently guided Mom back to the armchair. But I need to get drinks. I need to host. Mom tried to rise, the reflex to serve kicking in immediately. No, I said, stepping in front of her. I put my hands on her shoulders and gently pushed her back down. For 28 years you have hosted. You have served. You have cleaned. Today you do not lift a finger. You do not get a glass of water. You do not find a coaster. You sit. But. Seat. The room was full now. 37 people squeezed into a living room meant for 10. The overflow spilled into the kitchen and the hallway. The smell of antiseptic and exhaustion that usually clung to her was replaced by the scent of roasted garlic, chocolate, fresh flowers, and expensive perfume. Then the noise changed. It settled. Everyone turned to look at her. Mom was weeping now. Not the silent, hiding in the hallway weeping. This was ugly, beautiful crying. Shoulders shaking, face wet, hands gripping the armrests of her chair. I thought. She choked out, looking at me. I thought you forgot. I thought I didn't matter. I knelt in front of her. The room went dead silent. We lied, I said. We lied to you for 3 weeks. We ignored your calls today. We broke your heart this morning on purpose. She looked at me, confusion warring with relief. Why? Why would you do that? Because. I took her hand. It was rough from years of scrubbing hospital floors and washing dishes. Because you are the strongest person we know. You make everything look easy. You make sacrifice look normal. And because you make it look easy, people, including us, sometimes forget how heavy the load is. I swallowed the lump in my throat. We needed you to know the difference, I said. We needed to show you the difference between a day where you are forgotten and a day where you are seen. We didn't want to just buy you a card. We wanted to show you the village you built. Look around, Mom. She turned her head slowly. Dr. Eris rescheduled surgery to be here. I pointed out. Mrs. Higgins walked 3 blocks on her bad hip. Sarah took a week off work to bake and coordinate. We didn't just remember your birthday, Mom. We celebrated your existence. Mom looked at Sarah. Sarah was crying too, mascara running down her cheeks. You overheard me, Mom whispered, the realization dawning on her. With Aunt Lisa. On the phone. We heard you say you wondered what it felt like to be special, Sarah said, stepping forward. So, how does it feel? Mom looked at the crowd. She looked at the mountain of gifts piling up in the corner. She looked at the food. But mostly, she looked at the faces. Faces of people she had fed, clothed, healed, and supported. She let out a long, shuddering breath. And for the first time in my life, I saw her shoulders actually drop. The weight was gone. It feels, she whispered, like I can finally rest. The party that followed was unlike anything our family had ever seen. Usually, family gatherings were a source of stress for Mom. She would be the one refilling drinks, checking the oven, mediating arguments between uncles, and cleaning up spillages before they stained the carpet. Tonight, we established a perimeter. Uncle Ben was the bouncer. When Mom tried to get up to get a napkin for a cousin, Ben gently physically blocked her path. I'm just getting a napkin, Ben. I will get the napkin, Helen. Sit your ass down. Language, Ben. It's my house. I can swear if I want, Ben joked, handing her a linen napkin he'd brought from his own house. We set up a throne. It was just her armchair draped in a ridiculous purple velvet blanket Sarah had found, but we treated it like the seat of an empire. We made her open the gifts one by one. This was torture for her. She hated being the center of attention. She tried to rush it. Oh, lovely, thank you, she'd say, trying to put the box aside. Read the card. I commanded. Mike, it's taking too long. Read the card. She read them. She read the note from the neighbors thanking her for checking their mail when they were sick. She read the letter from my old soccer coach thanking her for the years of carpooling, when she was already working double shifts. With every card, a layer of her insecurity peeled away. She realized that her invisibility was a myth she had created in her own head. She wasn't invisible. She was the foundation. Around 8 p.m., the cake was cut. Sarah had recreated a specific cake Mom had mentioned once from her childhood. A lemon sponge with raspberry filling that her own mother used to make before she passed away. When Mom took the first bite, she closed her eyes. She didn't say anything for a long time. When she opened them, she looked younger. The lines of stress around her mouth seemed to have smoothed out. It tastes like 1974, she said quietly. I sat on the arm of her chair, watching the room buzz with conversation. You okay? I asked. She leaned her head against my hip. I was so angry at you this morning. I was going to change my will. I laughed. Fair enough. Who was getting the good china? The cat. I was going to leave it all to the neighbor's cat. She squeezed my hand. I'm glad you didn't. By 11 p.m., the crowd had thinned. The aunts and uncles had packed up the leftovers, another reversal of roles. Usually Mom sent people home with food. Tonight, they cleaned her kitchen and took the trash with them. It was just me, Sarah, and Mom left in the quiet house. The air was different now. The heavy, depressing silence of 5 p.m. was gone, replaced by the comfortable, tired silence of a good night. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, tracing the rim of a wine glass. I need to tell you guys something, she said. Sarah and I exchanged a look. We sat down opposite her. When your dad left, Mom started, not looking up. I made a promise to myself. I promised that you two would never feel a gap. I wanted to fill the space he left so completely that you wouldn't even know he was gone. You did, Sarah said. Mom, you did. I tried. But in doing that, I think I turned myself into a machine. I stopped being a person. I became just the mom, the provider. And I thought that if I stopped providing, even for a second, the whole world would fall apart. I thought if I asked for anything, I was being selfish. She looked up at us. Her eyes were clear. That phone call you heard? With Aunt Lisa? It wasn't just about a birthday. I was scared. I'm getting older. I'm retiring in 2 years. And I was terrified that once I stopped being useful, once I stopped being the one who does everything, that I wouldn't have any value left. That you guys wouldn't need me. This hit me harder than her crying had. The fear of obsolescence. Mom, I said, my voice shaking. We don't love you because you're useful. We don't love you because you cook or clean or pay bills. I reached across the table and took her hand. We love you because you're you. Because you're funny when you've had 2 glasses of wine. Because you have terrible taste in reality TV. Because you listen better than anyone else. Sarah nodded, grabbing her other hand. We tricked you today to show you that even if you do nothing, even if you sit in a chair and just exist, you are the most important person in our universe. You don't have to earn your seat at the table anymore. You built the damn table. Mom looked at us for a long time. Then a genuine, mischievous smile crept onto her face. Well, she said, leaning back. In that case, one of you can do the dishes. We all laughed. It was the best sound I'd heard in years. Epilogue. The new normal. That birthday changed things. It didn't fix everything overnight. Mom still had a hard time letting go of control. She still tried to snatch laundry baskets out of my hands when I visited. She still tried to force $20 into my pocket whenever I left the house. But the dynamic had shifted. The following Sunday, I called her. Hey Mom, doing anything? Just cleaning the gutters, she said casually. No, you're not, I said. Get off the ladder. I'm coming over. And I'm bringing pizza. We're watching a movie. But the gutters. We'll be there next week. Or I'll hire someone. Sit down, Mom. There was a pause on the other end. In the past, she would have argued. She would have insisted she was fine. Okay, she said softly. Pepperoni. Obviously. Okay, see you soon. We hung up. I thought about that moment in the hallway, the eavesdropping that started it all. It was the best invasion of privacy I ever committed. We broke her heart for 8 hours so we could heal it for the rest of her life. She never doubted again. Not when we forgot to call for a few days because of work, not when life got busy. Because she knew. She knew that beneath the silence, the army was always there, waiting in the wings, ready to break down the door with flowers and lasagna if she ever felt small again. And she never did.